Yeah, if we say like or think to ourselves, I'm not worthy or I'm not deserving or I'm not good enough, I'm ugly or stupid, etc., then what'll come first? What's coming sort of there's got to be an emotion, and it might not come up like a jet of water where we just like it's really really obvious. It's just suddenly I have an emotion because that's what a trigger is. It's a sudden like big influx of emotion and a big wave of energy, emotion. So that's what a trigger is. But we could have a more underlying, general, depressed, negative, heavy, darker, glooming energy and state of emotions hanging over us in our body from childhood that we've suppressed and repressed and never fully felt at all. So then we just naturally say, "Oh, I'm not good enough." Like we always are carrying around the feeling I'm not good enough. Even if we say I'm good enough, we might just saying it, and it could be superficial words. Sometimes if affirmations could be superficial too. So I feel for me the most important thing, and while affirmations are self-awareness and catching yourself in the moment when you say or think limiting things about ourselves or even others that are untruthful or not just or fair or kind, we we could do one practice of saying, oh, sorry, I caught myself. That's not true. That's like BS. I'm discarding that like belief. That's a limiting belief. I'm replacing. We can say these to ourselves or affirm it to ourselves or just verbalize it to another person. I'm letting that go. It no longer serves me. I got that from my past. It's not true. And now I'm living a life where I'm wishing and believing and feeling more and more and more that I am good enough and I am deserving. I am worthy. I am kind. I am a good person. I'm not dirty. I'm good. All these things, I deserve abundance and wellness in all areas of life. So we can either say that verbally or think it to ourselves, but getting to the emotional aspect, because that's mental, but getting to the emotional aspect, what we can then do, which I feel is like pivotal and most deep and powerful and true, is like a solid rock. Because saying stuff we don't believe it is like air. It can float away. It doesn't anchor us. Whereas
Yeah.
like an emotion is like earthy. It's like it even belongs in our earthy physical body. That's where emotions
Mhm.
and past energy reside. Same with toxins; they reside in our physical body. And thoughts do and emotions do also they reside in other aspects of us too, our energetical bodies to a certain degree for definite too. But when we feel emotions, they're very, very, very like physically orientated. So in that regard, what I definitely would always have to suggest is to understand and allow yourself to feel your emotions. So you got to become, and this is what's helped me heal like like at a very accelerated pace the last 6 months to a year. I've literally quadrupled or 5 or 6 times my healing speed in the last year compared to the previous 5 years prior. I've in the space of 1 year, I did like many years worth of healing, which I'd previously done at a much, much slower pace. So that is just basically feeling lousy or feeling sad or angry or anxious or lonely or depressed or feeling unworthy, like feeling the emotion of what it feels like to think you're unworthy and believe you're unworthy or not good enough or not deserving, etc., or stupid or ugly. And you might want to mentally think, where did this come from in my past? Like who said it to me? Like where did I first like come across this idea? Where how did I get it? So that's the mental aspect, and that's really helpful too because you start to identify. But the emotional aspect is the most important, where you don't do what everybody typically does do, which is avoid their emotions, deflect criticisms or people like pointing out things about them that they don't necessarily like. They try and defend themselves and deflect and say, "Well, you do that," or "I'm not that bad. Like, look at these people." It's like deflecting is deflecting attention to back somewhere else, away from ourselves. So people are always trying to suppress their emotions and deflect, avoid, suppress, repress, deny, not be honest with themselves. Oh, I'm not stressed. I'm in a great mood, or like all these type of ways they're pretending and denying the truth of the matter. Instead of saying I feel like very sad and upset right now, I feel like very frustrated or even angry. And when we can say these things when they're level like 2 or 3 intensity, it means we don't suppress it and repress it until it builds up in our system to a pressurized like amount where we explode when it's level like 9 or 10 intensity, or we flip out. So we want to be able to verbalize and especially feel our emotions when they're lower level, because then we can deal with them more and be rational instead of be completely irrational and explode when they're a high level pressurized buildup, like a pressurized steam tank or whatever. Um, so that's what I say about affirmations and belief systems and limiting beliefs. We got to feel the pain and let it out of our system through crying or releasing anger, releasing the sadness, the pain, the hurt. That's all like crying related and sobbing. And, sometimes people might like shake a little bit or have a tremor or, and for anger, just like I just typically say, like just when you're alone, feel your emotions more when you're alone. And like you could either pick up a pillow and hit it off the bed or the floor where nothing's getting hurt if you're really full of like anger or rage. Rage is repressed anger that's built up, become pressurized. So, or we can, some people might even want to punch a pillow or punch the bed or the mattress, etc., the soft part. So, like, some people might want to like or yell into their pillow or yell into their beds, if they're really feeling a lot of like anguish or frustration or anger and rage. But the good news is the more we feel shit, like feel terrible, then and we're consciously expressing it, and we're not expressing it out of just to hurt them, we're doing it for healing. That's just like we have a bag or a bucket or a kettle full of pain, and every time we do this, we're just letting out more and more of the pain, and it becomes emptier and emptier and emptier, less full, less full, less full. So this will affect everything in our life. Because like I was saying to my friend today, Jake is his name. Remember Jake? I called you Jake a few times. He was asking me about about like anger, and I was just sort of saying some things. I was saying like inside of us there's a big huge like system of energy and pathways. Like we have all of our cells and our meridian systems and everything else, and we store energy and emotions in our cells and in around our body. And it's like a huge web, or like a big town that has all these like tubes and like piping systems. So if we have blockages here, there, and everywhere in a huge town's like piping system, it's going to affect like gigantic amount of the town. Or if you have a problem with one part of the web, it's all interlinked, and you're going to affect the other part of the web. So basically speaking, what I'm saying is, if we aren't feeling our emotions and allowing ourselves to express them and be vulnerable to ourselves, especially, or maybe even to others, but start off with ourselves at least, where we're okay with crying and feeling poorly, very poorly, maybe like feeling absolutely terrible. We need to make it a habit of allowing ourselves to feel terrible for a while. And no one likes this, and I don't like it either. Like sometimes we feel terrible grief, sadness, or other feelings, lots from life's blows and losses. But if we keep all this stuff stuck in us, we're clogging our entire life, our whole system. And what that
Uh,
means is we will be less healthy physically
yeah,
and
that's a good
worse
analogy.
relationship. So if we are suppressing and not feeling our anger and rage, or bottled up sadness and grief and loneliness and anxiety and fear, if we're not feeling these and we're just trying to suppress ourselves or distract ourselves with activities or substances, or, or people, whatever, or activities, we're affecting our finances, we're affecting our relationship with our kids, we're affecting our health, we're affecting our future good relationship if we're single right now. We're literally affecting everything, because it's all interlinked and related like a web, or like a huge city, like of interlinked like pipe systems. So it's
Uh,
absolutely pivotal, in my opinion and in my experience, to become better, as good as we can at feeling uncomfortable emotions when they arise. Um, this has allowed me to heal at a rapid pace compared to the previous 18 years, or the previous 17 years, should I say, of the total 18 years I've been on my healing journey. So, but it just meant I've gone through moments of like, in a way you could say I cried a lot more in the last year. I just felt a lot more terrible in the last year, on and off, certain moments, not the entire time or anything like that. But it's also been the best, happiest year of my life, the most secure, prosperous, like well year, holistically and relationally, everything of my life and my relationship with myself. So it's been the best, but the most, in some ways, the uncomfortable with emotions coming up from my past, from my childhood, from past events or any past traumas. Because every time you let out, like, let's say, the full kettle and it's becoming less and less full and more lower of emptying kettle of water or the emotions,
Yeah.
it feels really bad. It's really like taking out a thorn from your foot, actually. It's sore, but it does so much more worse to keep the thorn stuck in, and it's swollen and
Yeah.
red and you have these sensitive spots. When you
Is
take
it?
it out, it's gone. You just have to wait for the next turn and be willing, ready. And I've not even come to the stage where I'm inviting and welcoming any more pain to come up. I've opened the door, I'm allowing it in, I'm welcoming and inviting it. Even though I know it's really uncomfortable, I know, and like, you could be like crying a lot, like really sad, for example. Like, you're gonna feel so much better afterwards. For example, I had 2 days of feeling sad, loss, and grief, and alone or vulnerable, kind of like a week and a half ago. And it wasn't 2 full days. It was like two occasions, or I've even had 3 occasions, maybe in the last week and a half, actually, three. And one of them was like particularly hard, like very, very. It wasn't too much fun. I was definitely very, 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 very upset and sad, and I was crying in public, going around my business, going places. But the thing was, then suddenly it stopped, and even though a similar thing happened, I didn't have any particular emotion or reaction. I didn't feel sad or like crying or devastated or extremely upset. And it's happened. Something else happened of a similar nature again, yesterday or today, maybe. And maybe yesterday, and I felt just a little bit minorly upset, but it's totally kind of fine, if you know what I'm saying. So it's an investment in our well-being to feel and to let out. And the other practice is don't get mentally like lost in negative thinking, saying, "Oh my goodness, this is terrible. Like, they're horrible people, or I'm a horrible person." Like, you have to have a good enough story attached to the emotions too. Like, this is good. It's healing past pain. Like, I have a gist of where maybe this pain came from in my past, like my mom or dad or caretaker, what they did or didn't do to me, or maybe what happened as an adult as well. Like, if I was rejected, abandoned, or went through a trauma or an attack, or like, a perpetration of some kind. So that's helpful to have a mental idea or concept of where all these emotions are coming from too. So we don't just think we're sort of like wild and crazy and, out of control for no apparent reason. And it's good to tell like the spiritual or the bigger picture story, like, this is for my highest good. Things happen for a reason. Um, Even if you don't believe that, you could go to the psychological level, that is psychologically happening for a reason. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna benefit from feeling my emotions instead of suppressing them and repressing them, and then just having them all bottled up, and I'm carrying like 10 tons on my shoulders, trying to go about life and pretend or try and be really happy and prosperous in all areas while I'm carrying tons on my shoulders. You got to let those big anchors we're carrying off, let them go. And that's
Uh-huh.
been completely my experience, 100%. And life's just getting better and better as a result. Yeah, but I'm still in the process, but it's definitely gotten a lot easier. Yeah. So yeah, the affirmations really help if you come on the mental work helps, especially when you're also predominantly focused on the emotional aspect first and foremost. Because you can deny and suppress the emotional aspect while doing the mental stuff. It doesn't really work that
Uh-huh.
way. It's like air, but the emotions are like sand. The emotions are like rock. You got to do the proper real first and foremost stuff that you're carrying, the emotions
Uh-huh.
combined with the mental, and it works wonders. But the other pitfall could be you try and do the emotional stuff, but you tell a really like sad, negative story in your mind mentally, and that doesn't really work either. That just keeps you what they call the victim, like we can be a victim, of course. Like if somebody robs our house or like beats us up, obviously we've been victimized, and we're a victim through dictionary definition.
Mhm.
But to have this like story and mental talk going on in our head routinely or regularly or ongoingly, continuously in our life, that's what we mean by being the victim. You know,
Right.
it
Yeah.
doesn't mean suppress the fact that we've been victimized by, let's say, a bully, some abusive partner, or whatever. It just means we don't keep carrying that big weight on us for no positive purpose whatsoever. We can talk
Uh-huh.
about it, but we got to feel our emotions. And if we go through the emotions of crying and feeling sad and angry, then eventually we can talk about it, factually speaking, about what happened, and we won't be crying anymore or sobbing or enraged or upset, because we can see why it happened for a reason, and we've already let out our emotions. So yeah, the mind, the mental, and the emotional go hand in hand in terms of affirmations and self-awareness and self-talk. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. I like the analogy, the pipe analogy.
yeah.
That's also what Arnold Ehret says, right? The human body, it's like a tube. It's like a
Yeah,
tube machine.
it's just an air gas engine. Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah, and another thing, like, which is really like positive about all of this, we attract partners based on our frequency. So the more we can clear ourselves, we will either create and develop and improve our current relationship, or we'll become compatible with someone who's more negative and, just much more negative. And if we outgrow them, as some people say, out heal them, out feel them, I suppose you could say all of those things, then people will like just they'll have served their learning purpose together, and then the lessons have been learned, and we won't be a compatible mix anymore. So like if we're in a dissatisfying relationship that feels cold, cool, distant, or even very upsetting and turmoil, if we do the feeling I'm talking about, coupled with the mental stuff too, we will be ready to leave that relationship and give it up, instead of feeling stuck and lost in it, in an
Mhm.
abandoning or cool, distant relationship, or an aggressive relationship, whatever. And we'll move on. We won't be a compatible match. So then the more we do this as a single person, we'll become much more vibrational and relational match as well. Like it'll just open up doors. I just feel it'll also we'll probably become more interested in learning positive stuff as we become lighter vibration emotionally and mentally.
Right,
And
right, yeah.
then we'll learn nicer stuff, and we'll know nicer stuff exists. We'll have more tools and knowledge and wisdom. And of course, then we'll naturally want somebody with more tools, knowledge, and wisdom, who've also been doing the emotional work. So we're not like it'll be like we'll notice a red flag then if we're dating someone or we meet somebody, and like they're acting in certain ways that are characteristic of they're carrying a huge burden mentally and emotionally, and they haven't let them go yet, and we just wouldn't be interested like that. So it's sort of like a practical match too, and it's definitely first and foremost like a vibrational match. So, but spiritually, people like get a come together for a reason of clearing stuff and growing together. So yeah,
Nice. Well, thank you very much, Owen. This is really good. I got
yeah.
to run now. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna keep that analogy, the pipe analogy,
Yeah,
in my mind when I these emotions are coming up during the week.
yeah, and when we get good at it, we could then be more vulnerable with others, knowing that there's nothing wrong with us to feel emotions. It's perfectly normal, and we're actually being more normal than someone who's constantly suppressing. It's more natural and organic. So eventually, we can be vulnerable, and that's beautiful if we're do with the right people who respect us and help us, and be kind to us. So it's nice.
Nice,
Have a lovely
nice.
day, guys. Lots of love, my friend. Nice to see you today.
All right, yeah. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Have a beautiful day and celebration of the Hare Krishna Temple as well, and your family.
Okay, thank you, Owen.
Okay,
Yes,
see you.
love to you too. See you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Blake. Bye bye.
bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.